your mind until you're taken to another place.
We're going to be talking to Santos Bonacci. I hope I said that right.
Correct.
Sweet. All right. So tonight's show is going to be called The Zodiac Within. We're going to be talking about the Zodiac and how it relates to your body. I know a lot of people's heard the term as above, so below. We're going to be talking about that. Jesus also mentioned the term on earth as it is in heaven. So without further ado, we have Santos Bonacci here now. How's it going, brother?
Great. Yourself, Truth Seeker?
Going good, man. Just had a long day of work and got everything ready for the show and excited about it. There's a lot of people who follow my work and my music who's looking forward to it, and we got some people in the chat room as well, man. Just glad to have you on the line.
Excellent. I'm honoured. I'm absolutely thrilled and honoured, and I'm all warmed up.
Good stuff. One thing that whenever I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago about the show, I wanted to talk to you about and get some information on Ezekiel's wheel. Now, there's a lot of people, who say that means a lot of different type of things. A lot of people even take a stretch in the ufology community and say that Ezekiel's wheel is a UFO and different things like that. And I kind of thought that that was the case. And then I did some more research, and I found that Ezekiel's wheel happened to be the Zodiac wheel. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. Everything in the Bible, every single word, thought, expression, law, poem, song, whatever you see written in those two, between those two covers, the front cover of the Holy Bible and the back cover, is pure, unadulterated astrology. Astrology is the mother of all sciences. Until one can know that, then it's impossible for a man to be complete and to reach hero stage and to ascend. This is the big conspiracy against mankind by the controllers ever. The biggest thing that they've stolen from us, and it's provable that astrology and all of its recognizable symbols are the most religiously recognizable symbols that exist. And it's provable that Hinduism, Islam, I've done it. I've proven that Christianity, all of these great churches, they all go back to their mother, astrology. They are all based and come out of astrology. They spring out of this, and it's undeniable. Even our secular world, we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. These are the 7 orbs. The 7 days of the week are the 7 orbs in our solar system that we can see with our physical eyes. So even on a secular level, and I can give thousands of examples, man, it goes forever. But biblically, it's signed and sealed. There is nothing but astrology in the Bible. Now, I've busted that probably more so in my latest series of presentations, Syncretism. Syncretism proves this beyond a doubt. If you need more proof than the 12 hours that I've put in those 3 presentations, then I think we're dealing with either a moron or a denier who just refuses because they want to be plain and simply just stupid. It's beyond stupidity. There's enough proof there. I mean, and the thing that frustrates me is that I've really, with all the proofs that I've put in my presentations, I have left so many out, and I'm just wondering, where am I going to get the time to share those one day with humanity? Because all I do is study this. I just study and study and study and research. And I find all the answers. And we're all capable of doing that. But what has been the most beautiful discovery for me is that the Bible is pure astrology. Let me give you some examples, okay? Now, I've done Your Bible is the Holy Land, so I've shown that the Bible is all about biochemistry and, your body is the Holy Land. Undoubtedly, it's the Holy Land. There is no other Holy Land. The Jordan River is in there. It's the spinal cord. Orion is in there. The Jesus, the Saviour, it's your optic thalamus, the third eye. And when you should decide to wake that up, then you will know who Jesus is. It's you. And the Gospels are all about you. It's your story of your ascension and how you save yourself. From what? From ignorance, the lower mind, unconsciousness, getting around like an animal, repeating erroneous opinions because we're educated. Oh, I've got my PhDs. I can talk about this and that. You'll find that people who've been educated in this system are still unconscious. Because education is based on empirical reductionism, or gathering information by sense perception, really. Thinking through the senses. How erroneous. And we've been warned about leaning on our senses in all of the scriptures. And it always says to know thy God and do not forget the law of God. Well, that means your higher mind, because you are two-natured. You are God and you are animal. And that's what we call a human being. So which one are you going to relate to? Well, by your actions you will be known, you see. By your fruits you will be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
Good trees produce good fruit. And so look, as you look at the Bible, you see that all that biochemistry, and that's beautiful. But then you see the astrological stuff. Look at the characters, for instance. We have Jesus, who turns up 2,000 years ago. Hello, right on cue with Jupiter Zeus, which is where the name is derived for Jesus. Jesus. It's a merger of the two gods. It's the same god. One's Greek, Zeus, and one is Jupiter, the Roman. Now, that's the guy who turned up. Only we're looking down on the ground for someone historical. But it was upstairs. Everything is upstairs. So, Zeus, you see, Zeus is the saviour because he defeated his father, old man Kronos, Saturn. He castrated him and defeated him. So he has always been the perennial saviour. Jupiter, Ammon, Zeus, they call him Ra, they call him everything. Jupiter gets all the titles. He is the title holder. And in the scriptures, his name is Jehovah. Jupiter, Jehovah. Same dude. He's always the hero. And Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces. And the two fish are the symbol of Christianity, the church of doubting and believing. And we've had that for 2,000 years. That's why we get baptized in water. Pisces is a mutable water sign. All the clues are there. Even Muhammad turning up 600 years after Jesus. Well, that's Venus. Venus exalts in Pisces. See, when you know your astrology, you know who's going to turn up historically. The last two saviors that have turned up were Muhammad and Jesus, 600 years apart from each other. Well, this fulfills the doctrine of the coming one, the doctrine of the avatar, because this solar system produces geniuses that men or women, men and women, who save themselves by following certain procedures that were established in Egypt and Atlantis many, many years ago. And if we should practice this science, called the holy science, we should ascend. That's what we're here for, to ascend. And these men, they turn up, and the last two we've had were Muhammad and Jesus. In other words, Jupiter and Venus, the rulers of the age. Before that, we had the sun exalting in Aries and Mars ruling Aries. Let's have a look at those two characters then, shall we? And see if we can find them in the Bible. Well, Mars backwards is Ram. Ram backwards is Mar. Mar is the root of the word maritime, marine, water. It's all the water stuff. You see, water is one of the elements of creation. It refers to negative electricity, magnetism. And fire, the fire element, that is the positive electric energy. And these two energies are the only forces. Electricity is the only force in the universe that builds all of the visible things that you can see with your eyes. And electricity has that by nature of being positive and negative. So it's electricity and magnetism. Now, Ram, which was the age before Pisces, were ruled by these two orbs, the Sun and Mars. Does that show through our theologies? Well, it shows through like, it stands out like dog's genitalia. If you're paying attention, that is. Is Moses, Marses. Mars means maritime, the root for water. Moses also means water. Moses turned up in the age of Aries. Moses blows the ram's horn. Moses kills the bull. The bull is Taurus, the previous age. The bull has a star in it called Aldebaran, which is short for elder brother Aaron. You see, Moses' elder brother was the high priest Aaron. Yeah, it's Aldebaran, the eye of the bull. You see, Aaron builds the bull of gold and says, you must worship this. And Moses says, no, destroys it and blows the ram's horn and says, we're going into the age of the Lamb of God. And it's all talking about astrology. This is pure, the best astrology. There ain't no better astrology than this on the planet. This is the best. The biblical astrology is absolutely the best. And any astrologer out there who is not familiar with it is not the complete astrologer. You never will be unless you know Bible astrology, because it kicks butt. Every other system's butt. Not that the others are deficient. They are equally capable of speaking the beautiful astrological language as the Bible, but the Bible is a masterpiece. And so Aldebaran, elder brother Aaron, he was the son of Levi. See, these were Levites. Moses was a Levite. Aaron, his brother, has to be a Levite. Who was Levi? Levi was the twin, remember? Simeon and Levi, born from the same mother. Well, they were twins. They had to. They were born of Leah, you see. And this is significant because Levi, the twins, is the Gemini age, which is before Taurus. So you see, that's Levi giving birth to the older brother Aaron, Aldebaran, in Taurus, and then Moses rocks up and says, nah, we'll have none of that. We're going to the ram, and I'm going to blow the ram's horn. So, I mean, this is just a little snippet. That was just a little snippet of how the Bible works and how astrology works and how they sync together. I can give you more, but I thought I'd have I'd just get some questions in there, or I don't know how your show works, so I don't just want to rave on.
No, man, that's good. That's a great introduction for some of my listeners who don't really know what kind of work you do, man. And definitely put in your work, and you've definitely done your research, man. Let's get back to the Ezekiel's wheel. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What you found out?
Well, basically, this is a vision of God. And in chapter 1, in the first chapter, in verse 6, it says he was describing the beast. From verse 4, it says this is the vision of the chariot of Yahweh, or Jehovah. From verse 4, it reads, there the hand of Yahweh came on me. I looked, a stormy wind blew from the north, a great cloud with light around it, a fire from which flashes of lightning darted, and in the center a sheen like bronze at the heart of the fire. In the center I saw what seemed 4 animals. They looked like this. They were of human form. Each had 4 faces, each had 4 wings. Their legs were straight. They had hooves like oxen, glittering and polished like polished brass. Human hands showed under their wings. The faces of all 4 were turned to the 4 quarters. They touched each other. They did not turn as they moved. Each one went straight forward. I'll continue in a minute, but this is pure astrology. This is the wheel of astrology. The 4 faces that's about to be described are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac: Aquarius, Scorpio, the eagle, Leo the lion, and Taurus the bull. God always turns up looking like this. This is God. It's astrological. It's nothing other than astrology. Any other interpretation is it, as long as it obeys the rules of this science. This is the science of as above, so below. So the historical rendering of any of these scriptures is legitimate, if you like, but it's deceiving because it's not dealing with history in a linear way. It's like Shakespeare using characters like Julius Caesar and Cleopatra in his plays was not writing history. He was just using historical characters, but he was making, he was playwright, so he was not dealing with that kind of truth. It's another kind of truth. It's spiritual truth. It's the hidden truth. And that's how these scriptures should be taken. So continuing on, Ezekiel says, each one went straight forward. As to what they looked like, they had human faces, and all four had a lion's face to the right, and all 4 had a bull's face to the left, and all 4 had an eagle's face. Their wings were spread upwards. Each had 2 wings that touched, and 2 wings that covered his body. And they all went straight forward, and they went where the Spirit urged them. They did not turn as they moved. Between these animals, something could be seen like flaming brands or torches darting between the animals. The fire flashed light and streaked from the fire, and the creatures ran to and fro like thunderbolts. Anyway, here he is explaining how between these animals you can see like flaming brands or torches. These are the 7 orbs as they go through the planets, you see, the flaming torches. And this is why Aaron, the high priest of Taurus, he always officiated with 7 candles, because Taurus has the Pleiades in them, the 7 sisters. And the altar where Aldebaran, in other words, Aaron, is officiating, comes from the word altor. Altar comes from altor, which is the Arabic name for Taurus. The bull. Al is Allah, of course, and Tor is the bull. And that's where the word altar comes from. So you see, where Aaron is officiating is in the altar of the Lord, Taurus, the bull, which is one of the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, which is now the age we are entering. In 3 weeks, we will be in the fixed sign of the zodiac. The spring equinox will herald Aquarius from now on for 2,000 years, and Uranus and Saturn are the rulers of Aquarius. We'll get back to that. But the solstice will now be in Scorpio. The autumnal equinox will now be in Leo. And the summer solstice, June 21st, will be in Taurus, where Aldebaran is officiating the whole of the proceedings for the next 2,000 years. See, this is why Jesus, Burns up 2,000 years ago because Zeus took over from Mars in the Aryan age, prior to Pisces. And we identified the ram as Mars's, but we didn't identify the sun. The sun is Ra. And you'll find the rattle of the word Abraham. Yeah, because that's when Abraham turned up, you see, the Abrahamic religions. There was no literal Abraham that walked the earth. I mean, the best Jewish scholars concur with that. The best ones. The ones who are not conforming to the Roman consensus paradigm. You'll find that most of the good scholars that don't conform with Rome, they are teaching the truth. And they know that this is an astrological history that we've been given. Nothing but. So it's pure myth and fiction, which is great because these are stories that contain higher truths than the average sheeple can handle. They're higher truths than that the average lazy, slothful materialist is not interested in. They're not interested in the higher truths. So they go around and they're busy with the stock market and what. Yeah.
That's it basically in the scriptures. It talks about the flesh and the spirit. It's the higher nature and the lower nature, right?
That's it. That is exactly it. And we find that most people are they're polarized to the bottom living, which is materialistic, and they cannot accept their higher divinity. They go to church to be saved vicariously, which they won't, and which is a process whereby they deny their higher selves and the only salvation that will ever exist in this universe. Mm-hmm. Embrace your divinity, you will not be saved. And if you deny your divinity because you think you're an atheist, well then you're lost. Absolutely, truly lost. And unfortunately, these ones will have to continue in many cycles of necessity, processional age of around 26,000 years each. They'll have to stay stuck like in a rut in these cycles. Aquarius is a sign whereby many will be saved. Many are going to receive the fixed air nature of Aquarius in the right way. They are ready and prepared, but many are going to into the Aquarian age like a car 100 miles an hour slamming into a brick wall. They're not going to get it, and they are going to eventually they'll perish. But what that means is perish from the scene and vibration that is the new world that is coming. So there's going to be parting of the ways eventually. I don't know, immediately around the time of beginning after 21st of December. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. I was watching a little bit of the documentary you was a part of, 2012. What was it? The Crossing. I was watching a little bit of that, and you guys spoke slightly about the New World Order and the agenda, and there's this notion, and I know you've heard of it, that a lot of people believe that the stuff you're talking about, it's they call it New Age or whatever. I for one know that it's I guess they try to call it that to categorize it and demonize it, but we know that the concept you're speaking about is way older than any religion is on the face of this earth. This is this is the holy science. So with this agenda and everything that's going on, and people know about this Illuminati doomsday stuff that the government has planned and different things like that, and just taking away our rights and things. Many people see some of the things you're talking about, some of the things that a lot of researchers are talking about as being puppets for the New World Order, or who is to bring in a one world universal religion. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, the true controllers of the world are very, very clever. They have built like a system whereby they have that are supposedly the most powerful on the planet. And they're in the public eye. Like Barack Obama would be considered one of the most powerful men on the planet. There'd probably be, probably the Chinese and the Russian and the European nations would have their respective power man or whatever. But you would look at these men, all of these powerful men, the top, say, let's grab the top 5 most powerful men on the planet, and most of the consensus morons believe that these are actually really, truly the most powerful men. They hold the most power on this planet. Well, that's just a crock. The controllers have worked it so that they can hide behind that wall, that mask. You see, they always hide because they're cowards. Killers. They are the true enemies of light, darkness. They work for, what we would call, Satan. But they work for the spirit entities that love the darkness. Because you see, the light produces soul. Children of the light have souls. Children of the darkness don't. Simple as that. So that's why you see cold-hearted, murderous, like Hillary Clinton. And that's not being judgmental either. That's just, he's a killer. Barack Obama, killer. These are killers. They have no soul. Absolutely cannot possess souls. But they are not the highest level of the soulless ones that are running the earth. Because these little foot soldiers like Barack Obama who think they're pretty powerful but are nothing, they can easily get viciously eaten up. Just look at JFK, for instance, That tells you that there's someone hiding behind the most powerful man. That wasn't just a deranged gunman. That was organized. That took years of organization by the CIA and George Bush Sr., the killer. What they do is they make it appear that it's a deranged gunman because they don't want people to really know what's going on, that they are being controlled. And the families that are doing this, these are big money families, man. They've got a lot invested in this fiction. They want this fiction to proceed. They want corporations to run the world, and they can hide behind them. And they want to have total control over other human beings. This is not us ruling. This is not government by we the people, of the people, for the people. This is an illusion they've set up. They've set it up like this, you see. And they're hiding behind it, and these are the oligarchs. These are the money families. And they've invested so much in this fantasy that they've created, a world whereby we have to protect our borders continuously with bloodshed and fear and hatred, and a world where we rape this planet for all its glorious resources because we want to burn fuels, we want to burn things to get energy. We don't want to implode and use natural energies that are free. No, let's get that oil. And these are cartels. These are families and corporations that go back to the Hudson Bay corporations, the East India corporations, criminal pirate families that were just starting then to rape and pillage the earth and plunder the earth. And they are now, your George Bushes and your Bill Clintons. They are these are the sort of the lower life families that belong to these soulless families that control the globe. Their days are numbered. They've only got weeks. They're vampires, and they cannot stand the light. And our solar system is now going into the photon belt, where they will just be zapped. And so they're being zapped, and they're not liking it. They've been asked to cease and desist and come to the light or perish, and they will perish. They will go off into oblivion and into perdition, because that's their choice. They've chosen to be workers of the darkness. And we'll be free from this infestation very, very soon. We won't know ourselves in the next few months.
Okay, so that's you know, you're kind of touching on the Illuminati aspect of it. Touch on the aspect of it where people dealing with information like you're dealing with are being targeted as far as being accused of being on the side of the Illuminati.
Who would that be that's being accused of being on their side?
Well, anybody dealing with ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom, whether it's anything that, you know, the research you're doing with the Zodiac, synchronicity, anything which they deem New Age or occultic type stuff. There's a big rise, definitely on the Christian front for the most part, saying that they are the forerunners for the Illuminati to get everybody in this universal anti-religion, one world thing. What would you say about that?
Yeah, well, look, they are partially correct. They are ever entirely in error, even though they are in error.
Mm-hmm.
They dwell in the lower mind, they serve the lower mind and materialism. They are in error, but they are not always in error. And you've got to see what they're saying will be partially true. And it is. You see, the New Age movement, or whatever it is that they call themselves, which I don't belong to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm saying you actually get grouped into that. Anybody dealing with ancient knowledge and things like that. I mean, even though it's not, it's totally different. Like I said, it's older than any religion. It's old. It's nothing new. You still get grouped in with it. You know.
Yes, I'm getting to that. I'm going to get to that. But
okay.
But the point is, this New Age thing has been co-opted as well as everything else. Please don't think that the Jesuits who run the planet have not infiltrated the New Age movement and put a lot of poisonous information in there about how to ascend and how to do this and how to do that, and a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is erroneous, and it's co-opted, and it's been poisoned by the Jesuits deliberately. But see, so that's where they are partially right.
Mm-hmm.
Partially wrong, because they will, in their haste to condemn everything else outside of them, they will get someone like me, who is totally unconnected to anything out there. I mean, I guess I can say that I'm participating in the consciousness awakening that's happening. I'll belong to that. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not promoting any trends that have been co-opted and I see them, and I know they have been co-opted. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there who are very popular and well known in the truth so-called movement that are actually just working for the Jesuits,
mm-hmm.
whether they don't. And that's very, very sad. So I will be thrown in with those, because that's how they do things. They fall into this fallacious type of brain, you see, and they brain masses of the populace with these techniques. So, but in the end, it's to their detriment, you see. So what I'm doing is explaining true and pure science, which is astrology and astrotheology, etc. And so, they will teach their droves things like, astrology is a pseudoscience. And so people hear that, they know nothing about astrology, but they hear that and it rings in their educated heads because their education resonates on the same low frequency of untruth. And so they can't discern the difference between a truth and an untruth. They just go repeating what authoritative types have gone before them and said. You see? And so this is the fallacious thinking that the scriptures warn us against. Do not follow the crowd. You must not follow the crowd, the herd, in other words, herd mentality. So Jehovah's Witnesses are just a herd. The Mormons are another herd. And they're all going ba, ba, moo, moo. They are the sheeple and the chattel. And surprise, surprise, the sheep and the cattle are the two signs of the Zodiac in the head, Aries and Taurus. And what they've done is turned those two brains, the cerebrum and the cerebellum, into much sheep, cattle, or chattel. And that's what the magicians of this world have done, the soulless ones. But mark my words, as the scripture says, the day is coming when you will look for the place of the wicked one, but you will not find him.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord will deal with the wicked one. The Lord is the solar system. The solar system is ejecting the pus. She has had some pus in. The sun has been carrying an infected solar system for a few thousand years now, and it's going to eject that pus. Anything that doesn't vibrate with the new vibration is just going bye-byes. And wherever they go, I don't know where it is, but it's not nice, the place where they are going. The fictional hell, paints a pretty scary where they're going, but each one chooses their own fate. You do choose your own fate. You choose what destiny you will receive and inherit after this carnal life. Because when one is in incarnation, that is the opportunity for growth. There is no opportunity for growth in the spirit realms. This is why God, the All, is experiencing itself through us. The one conscious organism is experiencing itself through incarnation. And why is that? To gather knowledge and to know. And this is how God knows itself. And it works like this. The confusion about God is quite simple. There are two gods. There's the invisible, unknowable, inconceivable, undivided, pure white light of undifferentiated consciousness, which we call God, the source of all things, the cause of all things, and then his only begotten Son, which is divided light, which we call electricity. And that's it. The Father and the Son. That is it. They are two gods. And this is why we like divinity, which comes from Deus, the Latin word for God. Deus means two, the number two. And divinity comes from divided, which is two. So you see, God carries the thought of two and one. We know God is a unity. It's a unity, but then we have a word divinity, which means divided, for God, because it is divided. See, the Son, the only begotten Son, electricity, which performs all the work in the universe, is two-natured. It's electromagnetic. See, positive electricity and negative electricity, but it is just electricity. It's the begotten sun, and it produces all the motion that we see, which we call form, which we call matter. But it's just motion. It is universal mind thinking. The two lights of thinking. And the color of those lights are red and blue. But the color of the light of the undifferentiated one, the causal God, that is white light. And this is why you have red, white, and blue everywhere. Red, white, and blue. Because it's talking about that. The white God, the one, the unity, and the divided red and blue God, which is the divinity, the two of the dualistic world that we live in. And it's the dualistic, materialistic, material world that the church powers belong to. Because it's the world of effects and not of causes. They cannot recognize the one of causes. They pay lip service to that one. But the one that they truly bend knee to is the dualistic God, electricity, the God of matter. And in a sense, this God is opposed to the other God, but in a sense, it comes from the other God. For instance, when I play my guitar and I strike the string, before I struck the string, it was silent, which is pure potential. Silence, pure potential. But then, when I strike the string with force, it produces a tone, which comes from the stillness. The sound emanates stillness and goes back to the stillness. If you wait, you will hear the sound diminishes and returns to its true home, which is stillness. This is the omnipotent one. This is the one that is all-powerful, because this still invisible light of God, the evidence of, is almighty, all-being, and immortal. And it produces mortals. You see, when I strike that string, that turns mortal. Because it comes and then it goes. I might play a nice tune on that string. You know, I might play a nice, sweet little melody, but then it disappears. The melody disappears. It was an effect. It was beautiful. It was wonderful, sensual, exciting, but it was only an effect. Back to the cause, where it comes. And this is where science has lost its way, the religions have lost their way, because they do not acknowledge that one. And they kill the prophets of that one. They stone them. They throw them in mental asylums. They deride them. Get them out of the way. They don't want those ones to be presidents of America. They want the insane ones to be. You see, all these statesmen and politicians, there's a lot of good men there, but they're still in the lower mind. They must be, because they're serving in that capacity. When you serve in that capacity, you are proving.
Yeah.
When you a corporation, you are proving that you are in a lower mind. And so, but most of these men are, they're criminal-hearted. They are criminals, and we have them in government. And it's time now to begin rulership by the people, of the people, for the people. And we can do this by ignoring their system, ignoring it, letting it bye-bye, because it's going bye-bye.
I fully agree. Let me ask you this. Some people would say, you're talking about astrology and things like that, and using it to interpret the Bible, which I fully agree is the true holy science. And like you said at the beginning, there's no way that you can look into these truths and it not make sense if you're seeking and you look at the material. It's there for you, But then, the scriptures also kind of denounce people looking into astrology as well. What do you think that's speaking about? I know when it's talking against sorcery and things like that, it's definitely talking about it doing it to harm people, and definitely in a negative sense. But what would you say about the astrology part?
Yeah, well, in Isaiah chapter 47 is the only thing that approaches a condemnation of astrology in the Bible. The Bible would never condemn astrology because it is astrology.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But it appears to do so when it condemns sayers and the foretellers and of the future, and what it's basically doing is the Bible is complaining about the low level of understanding of astrology that it has, that the soothsayers have gone astray. And woe to them. Just the same as when Jesus says, woe to you lawyers. I mean, he was not condemning law. He came to fulfill law.
Mm-hmm.
So why was he condemning lawyers then? Is law bad? No, because lawyers, well, they're liars. They corrupt law. And astrologers, if they don't know their stuff, better be very, very, very careful about their science and their art, because they could lead people astray. Astrologers are the most respected, good astrologers are the most respected beings in terms of human beings before ascension acknowledges. The astrologer is the highest. It's the one who knows stars more than everyone else, is the one who has reached the highest consciousness, because the stars is all we are. There is nothing but stars out there. In fact, when I call you my brother, I'm calling you Ra Theos, my brother. That's two words. Bra is Abraham, Ra, and Theos, brother. When I call my sisters, sister is just another word for Isis star. When I go to church to my pastor or minister, I go to speak to someone that's going to teach me about the stars, moon stars, deacons, cardinals, elders, an elder. That comes from the word evangelizer, elder, altar, Bible, chapter, angel, Michael, Israel. All of these L words and everything. These are all from the stars. Now, is there anybody that is going to be only the morons and the churchgoers are going to jump up and say, oh, no, it's from the devil. They are in the land of denial. It's impossible to deny this. It's just absolutely impossible. The Bible is dripping with astrology. Look at all the 12s. There must be 1 million cases of 12 in the Bible. Yeah. Start Jesus and his 12 apostles. Yeah, the 12 posts of the sun. Israel and his 12 children. There's always twins in there. Simeon and Levi, Thomas and Didymus, Jesus, twins. There's always a loose woman.
James and John.
James and John, exactly. The list goes on because it's talking about Gemini. It's talking about Sagittarius. It's unbalanced in seasons, the 4 Gospels, spring, and winter. And this is Sun Ra as he goes round and round and round. And we watch this. We watch this story. But all you've got to do is look up. Everyone has forgotten to look up. They're looking down.
Yeah,
nose,
definitely.
Working for each, struggling. We need to look up and remember the law of God. We've forgotten the law of God. The law of God is the Torah. The Torah is the tarot. Tarot is the rota. The rota is the wheel. The wheel is the will of God. Astrology is the will of God. We, basiles, that have forgotten it.
Yeah, totally agree. And you know, with that being said, you were talking about those who, you know, study the stars, you know, would be those closest to ascension, and those, you know, is what your pastors and your ministers are supposed to be doing. Even whenever you look up in the Strong's Concordance or look in the Hebrew word for prophet, you get the word seer. Even Samuel was called seer. There was a bunch of seers in the Old Testament. If you look up that word in the Hebrew, the word seer, it means a stargazer. You can look it up for yourself. Samuel the seer, he was a stargazer. And that's what they did. That's what Ezekiel was doing when he gazed into the heavens. Even, you know, the word for heavens is the same word used for stars. I mean, for sky, I'm sorry. So when they gazed into the sky, they gazed into the heavens, the abode of, you know, the Elohim, the Most High. So, yeah, that definitely backs up what you're saying. While you're touching on the disciples, and this is something that kind of crossed my mind. I haven't seen any research on it yet. I'm not sure if you've even covered it. But how much of a possibility would it be? We understand the 12 houses of the Zodiac, and each house has a different persona or personality, you would say, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask, if they have their each one, and people who are birthed under that sign tend to carry different personality traits and things like that. Those 12 houses of the Zodiac lined up with the 12 disciples, which I know they represent. Would you think, or does their personality fit with each house of the Zodiac, like the things that they did and the type of, whether they were playful or more serious or whatever? Do you think that would correlate at all?
Absolutely unmistakable. If you don't notice it, it's because you haven't been paying attention. But absolutely, you can see people's bodily features, their sign, and also their manner and their behavior. Everything comes under the signs. Arians, for instance, will be very, very, they can be headstrong people. They can be brave and courageous, like the ram. They can, like the lamb. They are fiery. These people are competitive. You know, they will confront martial activities in a very martial way. They make good fighters. Strong bodies, usually, very strong. And so that's just the Aryan features now. Okay, so you can go to Taurus then, and you can describe the Taurian person by the element, the earth element. Earth is sensual, the five senses. Aries before that, it was fire. This is why the ram is fiery, and Aryans are very, very fiery, you see, because fire is their earth, their element, you see. So they operate differently to Taurians. Taurians next door, they are more earthy and more grounded people than Aryans. And they have the number 2. Aries is 1, Taurus is 2. So you have to understand duality to understand Taurians. You have to understand the concept of unity to understand Aryans. Because Aryans are all about the number 1. This is why they appear to be very self-centered and self-aware. They're very self-contained. There's a lot of oneness about Aryans. You see, they're very aware of themselves. Taurians are now really, really different. You see, there's a duality thing going on there now. And Taurians have the earthiness that brings them down to the ground. Venus is beautiful. So especially the women folk are very beautiful, Taurian women, beautiful. You know, very. They've got the ovine eyes. They have nice, round, big eyes, and they glitter like Venus. You know, and usually Venus is always near the sun. So if your sun sign is, say, Taurus, well, Venus, the planet, is not far away from that sign. It'll either be in Taurus or 2 signs removed from the sun sign. So you can go 2 signs back or 2 signs forward. So, so just going on those figures, you know that a lot of Taurian women are going to be very, very Venetian and beautiful because they will have Aries. They will have the planet Venus in either Taurus, or more likely to have it in Taurus or Aries, which is the face, than a lot of other signs. So if you have Venus in the face, and I've tested this. I've got my little niece has Venus in the face, and she's got a beautiful Venetian glow in her face. Marilyn Monroe, she's Geminian. She's a Gemini sun sign. She had Venus in Taurus. Well, that's bound to give you. She's got that glittery Venetian face look. So the planet Venus gives beauty and form, you see, but it also gives a lot of beauty to this sign Taurus, but earthy beauty. It's more sort of an earthy beauty, whereas the Arians will have more sort of a spiritual beauty, spiritual qualities, like the lamb. You know, they're very innocent, which is a good positive thing, but also they are gullible, very gullible, which is a negative thing. And the Taurians will have this beauty, but they will also have this kind of a lustful thing going on in their negative polarity. You know, a lot of Taurians, they suffer with laziness because they love the material duality thing that's going on in their lives. Right? Now, that's just 2 signs here that I'm discussing. And that is only dealing with the sun sign. Then you've got to factor in the moon. The moon is very, very powerful, equally as powerful. See, the sun deals with your left brain, the left hemisphere of your cerebrum. The moon deals with the right hemisphere. So you can basically say that an Aryan someone who calls themselves an Aryan would have their left brain activated by Aries. So you can see how they act. You can see how they manifest in public. You can see their modus operandi, because that's the left brain acting out through Aries. Whereas the moon is like the right brain. It's more secretive, and it's more inner, and it's more intuitive, and it's more spiritual and mystical than the left brain. You see, so you've got a Pisces moon. Well, now you're sort of getting an idea how your right brain is activated, how it works. And Pisces is a dualistic watery sign, so it's emotional. One fish doubts, one fish believes. So people have Pisces moon, like myself, can often, 1 minute doubt themselves and the next minute believe in themselves. You see, that's what Pisces moon does.
Mm-hmm.
Has that wishy-washy emotional factor to it too. So there's how important the moon also is. But then there's another factor which is very important, and that is the ascendant, the rising sign. The rising sign also gives shape to the body, and it also gives aspects to the individual that can be identified. For instance, when you first meet someone, you will see their ascendant first, their outer personality, how they manifest in public, their mask. That's the ascendant that you're seeing. So, for instance, I have a Leo ascendant, so that's the sign. So when people see my presentations, for instance, the first thing they see when they see Santos Bonacci is the feline energy. Leo, the sun, right? And it's, you know, a lot of people with a Leo ascendant really get a lot of, they get a lot of, put it this way, the Leo can come across as arrogant and confident and very feline. You know, when a cat is confident, you know, the lion is the king of the jungle, right? So these guys, when the Leo is their sun sign, they really, really enjoy the limelight, you see. So, and these people tend to have that glow about them that a lot of people don't like. It's confronting. And so this is how the ascendant is also affecting us without us knowing. So when you blend the three, you have a good idea of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit that is manifesting through the person. This is why you can't just get any Aquarian and match with any Aquarian. All things have to be equal. You've got to see where the other planets are. Mars changes the character depending on where it is. Jupiter, you've got to see where Jupiter is. Where's Saturn? Where's Mercury? Where's Venus? So you won't find many people that are alike in that sense, because the planets are moving through the zodiac at a fast rate, especially the moon. And the moon changes things dynamically very, very quickly.
Yeah. All right. Let me go ahead and put this out there. Anybody who's in the chat room or anybody who has a question for Santos Bonacci, you can call in at area code 724-444-7444. And the PIN number is 78643, and then you push pound, and we'll get you in here to, ask you questions. So much more, to ask you, man. We got one question here, and this is something that I've been, kind of been on as well, the whole Lucifer thing, and how, it's a challenge for a lot of people to understand that Lucifer is not Satan, according to the scriptures, and Lucifer is referring to the light bringer, which is the planet Venus, and also a reference to Jesus as well. Can you give us a little information on that?
Yeah, Lucifer is many characters out of the Elohim. Lucifer is each one of the 7 Elohim, because those 7 visible planets are responsible for the 7 colors that we see in the spectrum, in the rainbow, for instance. And they are responsible for all those other 7s that go on. The octave, the musical octave, for instance. You see, we round out the septenary to an octave. So we refer to octaves of things, but we see octaves everywhere. But Lucifer can be the sun, because Lucy is light, and fer means to carry. So Lucifer means to carry light. Mm-hmm. Simple as the sun. But Lucifer is also Venus when she's a morning star, and when she's an evening star, she is Hesperus. But this is where Lucifer, the Venus, falls. When she falls, her symbol is the pentagram, and when that pentagram falls nose first, that's Venus, Lucifer falling.
So can I ask you this? Whenever Lucifer is falling, is that when the sun is rising, where Lucifer is not the brightest star in the sky anymore when the sun rises?
Yeah, because the sun affects all the other planets. They all have to go away when the. And in fact, whenever the sun comes up, Venus is always. Mercury and Venus are always near the sun. So when you look up at the sun at midday, you can look to the left or to the right, and Venus and Mercury will be there, but we can't see them. They're always there, always near the sun, always. But during the day we can't see them. So this is how Lucifer falls. Lucifer, all the other stars are shamed when the sun comes up. You see, they are put to shame. They run and flee in the mythologies. This is Perseus when he slays Medusa. That's the starlit night. You see, that's the sun. Perseus comes up, rises, smashes Medusa's head. Those other stars, they all have to flee in shame because they have no light of their own in the presence of the sun, the king of the heavens. And this is what our mythologies are all about. Nothing more, nothing less. So Jesus is the sun. It has to be. Jesus cannot be anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Consciousness.
That's all. Great. We have a caller, and the caller's been waiting patiently. I believe we have Matthew on the line. I think Matthew has a question. You there, Matt?
Yeah, I am.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good, actually. Thank you again for having this call on. I love Santos.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you got a question, yeah, go ahead and ask, man. What's up?
Yeah, I was wondering, actually, one question since you're on the Lucifer thing. What do you think about the connection between Nebuchadnezzar and Lucifer? Like, is there a connection there? The original head of gold?
Yeah, look, Nebuchadnezzar, of course, the biblical Nebuchadnezzar, which seems to correspond with the historical Nebuchadnezzar, but really does not, is actually, the image that he saw is actually the image of the cycles that we live in. And you see, when Nebuchadnezzar was struck for 7 years and became like an animal, and then his kingdom was restored to him, you see, and he saw the vision of the tree that was chopped, and then they put a ring around the tree for, I think it was seven times, the times of the Gentiles. Anyway, this 7-year period of being like an animal, this is representing all of us human beings that are incarnated, and we become like animals until such time as we awaken, you see. And all this is just imagery of our ascension. This is all the books are talking about just is our story of how we are the heroes that pass through, as the sun passes through the 12 signs of the Zodiac, we also are completing the law of God. We have come to fulfill the law of God, the wheel, the Zodiac. We've come to walk in it, in the flesh. We are walking in the 12 signs. In fact, our body is divided into 12 segments from Aries at the top of the head and Pisces at the bottom of the feet. And the gold is up the top, because Nebuchadnezzar's image had a head of gold. Well, that's because the sun is the head. The sun exalts in Aries. You have silver breast. Well, that's because the moon is in the breast, Cancer. And then you have the bronze. Well, that refers to the copper of Venus in the kidneys, in Libra. Venus rules Libra, and Libra is the kidneys, and that's copper or brass. That's interchangeable. Brass and copper are always interchangeable in the mythologies, and Venus is the ruler of that. And then the iron refers to the feet, which is Pisces, the Iron Age. And it's mixed up with clay, and it's mixed, and it's unstable. Well, that's what it's referring to. It's referring to us going through the age of Pisces and being transmuted. But to answer the question about Lucifer and Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar falls like Lucifer falls. Everything falls because everything is cyclical. And the other thing which I didn't finish to say is that Saturn, otherwise known as Satan, is Lucifer, because Saturn has also fallen from his glorious prime position in the solar system, which was a glorious position, and somehow was dethroned by Jupiter and placed in a dark, cold position in the outer limits of our solar system where his vibration is harmful to mankind rather than beneficial. And so this is why Lucifer also has fallen in that sense. So all the planets take a dive. They all fall. We all go through cycles. It's just talking about cycles. That's all the Bible's talking about, and how we are the main character. We are Samson. We are Abraham, Isaac, Jesus. Take your pick. If you've got a favorite, run with your favorite.
Yeah. That's awesome, man, that you say that, because just personally, like reading the scriptures in the past, I would read stories about the fights that the Israelites had with these other armies and stuff like that. And as I was reading, I was getting this revelation of myself and how they fought with them, and it was a picture of an obstacle that I had to face in my life. In the same way that they fought with those other nations and they had snares for them and things like that, was like correlating. The synchronicity was amazing, and it happened time and time again, reading the different battles in the Old Testaments where, like, for me, when I read it, illuminated different situations in my life that I was going through, man. So I definitely can see what you're saying as far as you are each character. You will pass through the Jordan. You do have a golden calf that you will eventually have to bow down to and then get back up to and keep walking, and you will face the giants and all these things, man. It's amazing.
It is amazing, and when you find this out, then you realize you have the mystical key. You have the mystical key, and you understand all of the mythologies, nursery rhymes, legends, fairy tales, all of those books. You have the key now, and the key is simple. It's all about the stars and astrology, and it's all about what's out there that we're not paying attention to. We have been diverted from the true skies. We have been diverted from this knowledge and ancient wisdom that we had, which could cure us, could heal us, and all the wonderful things and benefits that we derive from this science. It's wonderful science. I don't know how many times I've done people's charts and I have detected pretty much all of their physical ailments and been able to point them to cell salts and minerals that will be able to help them, because this science is infallible. And I don't have to be a doctor. All I've got to do is know astrology. That's how liberating this is. And it's given me so much power, and to see the power given other people that have taken the cell salt and had the chart reading done, and they write to me months later saying, Santos, my whole life's been transformed. I get these letters daily. I see what astrology does because I'm in touch with it. You know, when you're not in touch with it, and when you're still lingering about, not wondering how to tackle it, I would not any longer. It's time to grab it by the horns and understand the science. The best way to do it is watch my presentations. If you watch my presentations, you will be introduced to astrology, because it's the window to astrology. It's how to understand it. It's based on nature. And if you can't explain how astrology works, you can never be an astrologer. And that's what I find with astrologers. They've got no idea what it's based on. What does it mean when the sun exalts in Aries? They've got no idea. What does it mean that say, Mercury rules Virgo or Gemini? What's the difference? How does it produce different effects? I mean, these are very, very, very powerful consciousness expanders. Astrology expands the consciousness to no limit. There is no limit once you know this. You have the key forever to accessing the higher mind in astrology.
Let me ask you this. You said to check out some of your work. I've checked out a lot of your work. Some of it, for somebody just starting out, may seem a little advanced. Where would you say, or which presentation would you recommend for somebody just starting out to get the basic principles down? Which one would you recommend?
You know, I can't really say because they're all similar. There's not one that I've done that caters for first-time viewers, really. Although I always have first-time viewers in mind when I do my presentations, and so I baby them down and I really, really dumb them down, my presentations. You know, not ridiculously. It's not like kindergarten, but I really make them simple. Mm-hmm. And if anyone is ready, they can watch any one of my videos and they will understand them because they are simple enough. They're deep, on the one hand, they're deep, but explained simply. No highfalutin words, no registry words. I'm using words that we all know, and I'm using graphs that are simple, and I'm not trying to impress anybody with my knowledge. I'm just pointing to things. Well, that's all I'm doing. You know, none of it's my stuff. I've just noticed it, and so I'm passing it on. You know, so I'm just saying, look at this. I'm pointing to this now. And here's another thing. I'm pointing to that now, and you just notice it. That's all you do. That's all you've got to do. It's not about indoctrinating yourself. It's just about watching something. You know, you can learn by watching. And my presentations are designed in that way. So all you've got to do is just sit back, just watch them. Watch them. Don't just watch them. Take the information in, and that's the best way to take information in. You don't have to believe any of it. You just have to know it. See, if I had the opportunity to teach languages, which I have done in the past, I could teach you, and this is not a boast, this is true. I could teach you to speak Italian, French, Portuguese, and Spanish from 1 hour to 2 hours. You give me a solid 2 hours of your time, and I promise you, you will be speaking Italian, French, Portuguese, and Spanish in 2 hours. So, I've done this. I've done this with many people. I used to teach languages, and I've written up a program which will absolutely cause you to speak those languages in 2 hours' time. Now, that's how I teach in my presentations. You know, for some people, they get irritated with my presentations. Oh, you go off on tangents. Oh, you go deep. Oh, you do this and you do. I've got so many attackers, but I know what I'm doing. I use techniques that will, if you watch the presentations, you will learn the wisdom and you will remember it. You'll never forget it because that's how I design them. There's a lot of work that goes into that. I don't just get out there with a blackboard and hope to see what happens. You know, I think through my presentations before I do them. I lose about a week of sleep every time I do a presentation. That's why I always look tired in my presentations, because I've been thinking about them, you see. And they are works of knowledge. That's all they are. They're not to be believed in. They're just to be known. It's wisdom that needs to be known, and it's minimum wisdom that needs to be known. If you don't know that, you don't know much, really. Because it's not really that deep, really. I think I haven't even proceeded out of grade 1 yet. You know, I really want to do grade 2 and grade 3 now.
That's amazing. We got some more stuff in the chat room. Somebody has a question. They want to know when did you get started discovering this stuff, and what were some things that turned you on to astrology and astronomy?
Well, I've always paid attention, and even though I was a Jehovah's Witness for 22 years between 1983 and 2005, right? So I've only just left the Jehovah's Witnesses, right? We're talking 7 years ago was the last time I went to one of their meetings. But while I was there, I studied the Bible. I learned languages. I learned everything I know. I haven't been anything by anybody on this planet. It's all self-taught. Music. I'm a professional musician. I've taught myself how to play the guitar, other instruments, but I make a living from playing the guitar. And I'm self-taught. The same is with this. I was always into theology. I believe and know theology is an important subject. You can't talk about it. It's as important as law, health, science, and all the other biggies. Theology is important. Not churchianity or any of the churches. No. Get rid of them. Walk out of them because they are in deadly poison. They are clubs, common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Theology has always been important to me since I was a little child. So I studied the deep books, and I cut my teeth on a book called The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop in the early 80s.
The Two Babylons?
Sorry?
Was it his book, The Two Babylons?
Babylons.
Amazing book.
Yeah, my version of that is very, very old and marked because I've read that and read that and read that and read that. And I did that because it was the only source that I had really that really went deep in deciphering all the symbols, who is Cain, who is Nimrod, who is Abel, Osiris, Dionysius, and this guy did it. Now, I didn't understand it back then. I didn't understand any of the things that I was learning. I've only understood astrology and astrotheology in the last 7 years. That's it. I woke up 7 years ago, and I've only really put all of the information that I've presented on my presentations in the last 2.5, 3 years, and that's the result of many lifetimes of loving this subject, I guess. But also in this lifetime, I've really, really paid attention. Theology means a lot to me, and philosophy, and I really want to know. I am a person who really hungers to know, not to believe and follow, just to know. You see? So I often say to people, you don't need belief to speak English. You just have to know. And that's astrology. You don't need to believe it. Oh, I don't believe in astrology. We don't need to, moron. You need to understand it. You need to know the language. You don't believe in blues guitar or jazz guitar. It's just a language. You might not like it, but it doesn't make it a pseudo-language. Blues is not a false musical expression just because the jazz musicians say it is. Oh, we don't like blues. We don't. Jazz is the best. Jazz is all there is. Blues is a pseudo-music form. Doesn't exist. You'd be a moron if you went around talking like that. And yet we allow churchgoers to, vomit their stupidity over us when they pontificate on their high horses. That's from the devil, that is. How dare creepy, dumb idiots speak like that, and how dare we...
Yeah. I totally agree. Once you start reading the Bible for yourself and you start getting into the scriptures and you start finding out there's a lot of stuff in there that they're not telling you in these churches, on many different issues, and you find out that they were actually telling you lies. And if anybody wants to throw the witchcraft card around and things like that, they're perpetuating witchcraft in a higher sense than anybody claiming to be a witch or dealing with any type of so-called occultic practice. Whenever they're taking the truth and manipulating you with it and blinding you with the light, that's the highest form of sorcery, and that's what the Bible condemns. So we still have Matthew on the line. I believe he has a couple more questions for you. You there, Matt?
Yeah. Before I ask my next question, I just want to say first, actually I want to apologize because just like Derek had brought up earlier about people saying that anything related to astrotheology is Illuminati propaganda and whatnot. I used to be one of those and had actually spoken against you a couple of times before my awakening, so I want to apologize for that. But
oh, wow. Great. Great to hear.
My next question is about the four beasts of Daniel, and if you believe they pertain to the four gas giants in our solar system and the inhabitants of the gas giants, or if they are other entities elsewhere.
Look, that's possible, but I don't know. Because you must remember that the scriptures have 7 levels of meaning. Otherwise, they would never qualify as scripture. They would always just be ordinary literature. That's how the Bible gets to be king of the mountain when it comes to scripture, and why, it has been revered, even though more bloodshed has been caused by that book than any other book because of the misunderstanding by the morons who think they understand it. They're just a bunch of killers. But that's how it has to be that way. That's history. And there are 7 levels. And so Daniel will be talking about beasts. Now, I know that Daniel's beasts are the beasts in the... For instance, when Daniel speaks about the he-ram fighting, the ram that's fighting against the he-goat, you see, well, that's... He devotes a whole chapter to the ram and the goat, right? And he refers... It's sort of pointing to Alexander the Great and Cyrus the Mede, the Persian. So it's alluding to them, but it's in fact dealing with Aries the ram in the sky and Capricorn the goat in the sky, because Aries sits on the equinox, Capricorn sits on the solstice. It's the sheep and the goats. And so his whole vision of beasts, and I saw a vision, and I saw a beast, and it looked like this, and it looked like that. All these beasts are the beasts in the Zodiac, because the Zodiac is the timekeeper, the chronologer. Chronology comes from Kronos. Kronos is Saturn, old man time. Astrology is the window into the past, if you like, the window into the future, but it's always telling the now. Yeah, you see, and this is the only thing that God's mind can be studied by, the Zodiac. That's the mind of God, because it's God's mind thinking, the divinity in the dualistic world, in the electric world. But it gives you a glimpse of what God's mind knowing is like. You see, he who knows the Father knows, he who knows the Son knows the Father. If you have seen me, you have seen the Father. So the scriptures are beautiful in describing both gods, the cause and the effect God. But we are the ones that can differentiate between the two. Yeah.
All right. Let me get this question out the chat room, and then I'll hand it back over to you, Matt, for another one. Guest in the chat room says, "What does Santos think about transhumanism?"
It's just another disgusting philosophy that the elites have created to lead the blind astray. Humans and machines merging into one is just an obscenity. It's an obscenity. Not that we are not going to inherit a new technological age in the future, but it won't be this kind of technology at all. And if it is going to be a part of our existence, like many extraterrestrial races have very advanced technology, it will be technology that is in rhythm with the universe. It won't be like your smartphones. That's the kind of transhumanism that the elites have concocted and invented for us. It'll be the kind is, very, very smart,
Yeah.
but very, very damning time.
If I can comment on that as well, that's just one of my heartbeats as well right now. It's the whole technology thing. Like, I love technology. I use it, to my advantage. And, we're actually talking now, through a form of technology. And I've got Skype running and, the website's pulled up and connected with a lot of people right now listening to this. And then it's going to be on YouTube as well in the future. So, I mean, technology has its benefits. But the thing that really gets me is to understand the age that we're in right now. And the time of Kali Yuga, where it was prophesied that man would use machinery, to fight against God. So here we see using something like the internet, for example, a World Wide Web that you can access any information, whether you Google it, any type of term, any reference, and learn how to speak a language, learn how to do anything, learn how to look up your family tree, whatever the case is. And what it is, it's a picture of what the shamans would do, is they would go into the spirit realm and be able to access information themselves as well. They would be able to go into a trance-like state and bring forth, information through prayer and through meditation and things like that. So we see almost, technology almost being a replica of this web that's already there, much also like, you have the global brain, and the global brain, which, some call it's called by, it's called by different people, call it a lot of different things, but the global brain, meaning everyone is connected, and you can feel, like, say if you walk in a room and you have senses, where the Bible calls it the discernment of spirits, where you walk into a room and you can feel, what the spirit is in there. If somebody's having a hard time, you can actually feel that if you're sensitive, and when somebody's going through a hard time. When your friend's about to call you, who you haven't talked to in 6 months, and then you think of them, and then they call you. And the reason that is because we're all connected, and we're totally getting away from that and moving towards a mockery of it, or an expansion of it through something like Facebook, where we're all connected through social media. When somebody has an alert, when somebody's going through a rough time, whatever the case is, they'll tweet about it, put it on Facebook, and there you have that web. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and this is a beautiful network that we have, and in the future, this concept will continue, but with technology that is not harmful to us, because our computers are every single computer that exists is very, very, very harmful. Yes, we get all those benefits, and that's great. But all we have to do is just change the way we make these machines, and they will not be harmful. And so when this system, which is governed by money, falls, which will be in the next few weeks, it will fall, and it will be replaced by a system of true currency. Then manufacturers of these machines will have to revert to making them with technology that is not harmful. And we have that technology. We have it. So, look, the future we are making it, and we can turn all of the negative things into positives in the near future. With the raping of the earth, we can stop that instantly, absolutely instantly, without any consequences on this planet. And we can revert to free energy within probably, wouldn't take more than a week to get the whole world on free energy. There's a lot of potential, and it remains to be seen, and we're right at the threshold now, so things are going to manifest really quickly from now on. It's not like, it's 2005 and we're talking about 2012 as though it was, 7 years away. Now the crunch is on. We are witnessing it. We are right at the threshold, and we are going to witness some big, big changes. And we'll know how good we are, because we are the creators of this change. So we need to really be careful the next couple of weeks. Be careful with things like, doing the wrong thing, or I would be staying away from places of trouble, getting out of trouble, meditating, concentrating, staying focused for the next few weeks, and really having good intent for what's to come. Be positive about it and have good intent, because our good intent will actually manifest something good. Because guess who's trying to manifest something evil? The soulless ones who are going into perdition. They are still out there, and they are manifesting as hard as we are. They are all manifesting. But we, the children of the light, we have to conquer what they are manifesting, and what we are manifesting will reveal itself in the next few weeks.
I agree. Let me ask you this, and then I'll hand it back over to Matt. How much hate mail do you get versus the good stuff, where people telling you that your works changed their life and you're helping them? Do you get a lot of trolls out there sending you hate mail and messages and trying to discourage you and trying to hack your system and things like that?
Not really. No, I've been sort of I've been protected from these morons. I anticipated 2 years ago when I started down this path, I anticipated that I would be constantly barraged by hate mail, and it never happened. Because I think that a lot of, good-hearted people that are still trapped in churches that see my presentations and, switch them off because it conflicts with what they've been taught, I think that they can see that I've put a lot of evidence in there and a lot of proofs, and I know what I'm talking about, and I haven't just botched up some presentations and imagine they sound good and that they're going to stack up. The information's going to stack up. I know everything I've presented stacks up. It absolutely stacks up. There's no scientist or religious type. The Pope will not come along one day and debunk me. It's not going to happen. There's no science. There's no one out there that can properly debunk what I've presented. It's impossible, because it's based on what we collectively know. I've just pulled it. So if I say to you, for instance, okay, so if I say to you, to say hello in Italian, you say buongiorno. Now, are you going to debunk that? Is there any way of debunking that? Someone comes along and says, oh, what a hogwash, Santos, that's buongiorno. How do you know? How do you know that's Italian? Where did you get that from? Et cetera, et cetera. You can't. So there's no argument. So people don't attack me because what I present in my videos is what they already know.
Mm-hmm.
And, if they really honestly do their soul searching, they will realize that what I'm talking about is stuff that we all know. It's nothing, I'm not a magician pulling it out of the skies. I'm pulling it out of what we all know, every one of us.
Totally agree. So, Matt, I'm going to hand it back over to you, man. You got another question?
Yeah. I can understand if you want to not speak too much on this, because when I've done research on it and dug in as deep as possible, I've been censored and had entire research papers just deleted from stable servers. So I know that there are people out there trying to suppress some of this, but I was wondering what more you could tell us about about Saturn and the influences of Saturn, both energetically and with its inhabitants and the people who worship the inhabitants of Saturn. What more can you tell us esoterically about that planet?
Well, if you follow great occult teachers like Thomas H. Burgoyne, which is the one that I always present in my presentations, he talks about how have all lived on the various planets in the solar system in our various incarnations in this cycle of necessity. So both you and I have lived in Saturn. We may have been there in the plant, or in the mineral. But we, from this solar system, we have lived on other planets in other kingdoms, the four kingdoms: the mineral, the plant, the animal, and the human. And some of us have actually lived on planets as humans and are now trapped on this planet Earth. And so, but as for who is now living in Venus and Mars, Saturn, etc., I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know in that I haven't really spent a lot of time investigating and researching that, so I can't really speak authoritatively on that subject. But rest assured, there are entities there, there are creatures there, and the stuff that NASA tells you, that's just ridiculous, ridiculous lies. But creatures do exist there. In fact, the planets are,
Mm-hmm.
Now Jupiter is just a bunch of spiritual angelic creatures ruled by the one which is an archangel called Ariel, if I'm not mistaken. Saturn is Cassiel. The sun is Michael. The moon is Gabriel, Samael, etc. So it's all creatures. It's all soul. Everything is emanating. See, it's the word of God. Remember that string vibration, that sound that comes from the string, which is the effect of the stillness. That's what says, and the Word was made flesh. It's talking about how the sound cymatically produces all the forms, the flesh. Because there really is no flesh. There's no flesh in existence at all. It's all motion. But it's called flesh because in this dimension we can touch it. It's gross. And we feel it and see it. Our senses that are trapped and limited can actually perceive. We call that flesh, you see. But this is the Word made flesh. It's the sun, all the planets in the solar system that make see through their sound. If you could hear the sound, the singing of the spheres, if you could hear the sound that emanates from Venus and Mars and all those planets respectively, you would understand what's going on. That everything is produced by sound, which is the frequency of light. And that's what the Bible means. I am the light of the world. And the Word of God, the Logos, the Word is the sound. It's all about sound and electricity. Creating everything.
So what is what element does Saturn create?
Saturn is of Earth, Capricorn Earth, but he also rejoices and exalts air. Aquarius, he also rules Aquarius, which is an air sign, and Libra, he exalts in Libra, which is an air sign. But Saturn is detrimental in fire signs. So when Saturn is found in, say, Aries, for instance, not good. Not good. So when you do your chart and you look for where Saturn is, hope that he is in air or earth. Because otherwise he will have a negative influence on that sign. Because his vibration does not gel with the water. Oh, he's not bad in water, but very bad in fire. But best in earth. And that earth is the molecule, and earth is matter, and that's why Saturn rules matter, because he coagulates. He congregates and brings together into forms. He makes forms, see? And Saturn is the farthest of the planets in the solar system. He is the old man. In the Bible, he is Abraham. Abraham had a wife who sometimes his sister. Well, the wife is the moon. You see, Saturn takes 29.5 years to orbit. The moon takes 29.5 days to orbit. They are considered to be Abraham and Sarah. And when the moon is in conjunction with Saturn, that means that they are married, and Abraham calls Sarah his wife. But when the moon is away from Saturn in the and she's in the other signs, that's when she is his sister. And that's why when Abraham goes down to Egypt, he introduces Sarah as his sister. Well, it's all astrology. It all goes back to the principles of astrology, but you need the mystic key. This is why Jesus said, "Woe to you lawyers! You've thrown away the keys of knowledge, and you hinder these little sheep from going in. You hinder yourselves and the little sheep." And the keys of knowledge are the keys that they should have never forgotten, and that is astrotheology, the theology that comes from the stars, astrology.
I have one last quick question. I know that, or if you can't answer this because of oaths or whatever, I understand. But I was wondering if you could give any hints towards the proper planetary associations with the Kabbalistic tree of life, because I know that most of the stuff out there on the internet today has them in the wrong order, and that's on purpose. Can you shed any light on the true associations?
Yeah. Start at the bottom with Malkuth, that's the earth. And then just work your way up in you work your way up the tree using the Ptolemaic astrology, where the sun is in the middle of the seven. Okay, so you go up. So you go. The next is the moon, then Mercury, then Venus, then the sun, then Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and those at the top. So that's from the bottom, from Mount, the Earth, and then you go upward in that order that I gave.
Thanks.
That's the true order.
All right, we're coming up on 2 hours now, man. Thanks so much for everything. I want you to give your websites and everything, but after we end the show, I want you to stay on the line. I want to talk with you for a minute. But I want you to give your websites where people can, research your work and watch your videos at.
Yeah. YouTube handle is Mr. Astrotheology, one word. And website is universaltruthschool.com.
That's amazing. And thanks so much for staying with us for 2 hours, man. We got a lot covered, and tried to keep it on a a basic principle question, because like a lot of people ask me questions or whatever, like really into like the ABC type stuff. So I try to keep it as grounded as I could, and you answered a lot of questions, man. Thanks so much for spending the time with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, and we will have next week, I believe. I know I said it last week, but we will have Bill Bean on next week, and you guys definitely wanted to check out that show. We're going to be talking to him. He's been dealing with spirits and ghosts and things like that his whole life, and confronting demons. Even when he was a child, he was harassed by demons in his house, and had hooded figures approach him as a child and things like that. He got involved in church and had physical encounters with real life entities and things. And he's got a couple books out talking about his life and how he helps people get free from these things. And he's just been doing a lot of interviews and lectures and things like that, moving on. And he was approached by the 700 Club, and they did a documentary on him. They came out to his place and did a documentary, and I filmed him and did this whole excerpt, and they were supposed to air it in November. Well, no, they were supposed to air it in October. They didn't air it in October. Then they emailed them and said, we'll air it in November. Well, they didn't air it in November, and they just sent him an email and said, we're not going to be able to air your segment because of your religious beliefs, and because not only does Bill Bean research, demonology and basic demonology, biblical demonology for that matter. He also has a lot of research and photos and things about UFOs with that phenomenon. And because they've seen the UFO stuff on his site and heard some of his lectures, they went ahead and pulled the segment. They're not even going to show it. So we're going to have him on next week talking about that. And that's going to be interesting. So thanks, everybody, for listening and tuning in. And we will be back next week for another show. So thanks, everybody calling in, everybody in the chat room. And so we'll see you guys next week on Awakening. Shalom. All right. Got it. Sweet, man. Thanks so much for the interview, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, just definitely pushing your work, and I do music and stuff. I'm gonna try to do a song, man, and feature some of your work in one of my songs. I sample a lot of different people who do lectures, and Jordan Maxwell and Manly P. Hall and things like that. And I really like your work, so I'm gonna try to find something probably on syncretism. And when I get it done, I'll actually send you an email and let you check it out.
Right.
Hopefully you'll like it. Let me ask you this before I get you off the line. Can you give us a can you give us a drop?
Sorry?
Before we get you off the line, can you give us a drop, a plug for the show?
Okay, sure.
And basically just say, I guess just say who you are and that you're listening, or you're now tuned into the Awakening.
Okay. Let me gather my thoughts. So, do I say? Sorry, what do I say again?
Just say this is Santos Bonacci, and you can give your website and things, and say you're now listening to the Awakening.
Wait a minute, hang on me. Sorry, my wife's just one more minute. I've got to do something. Hang on, my wife's cooking. And now I'm to Truth Seeker Radio.
The Awakening Radio Show.
Awakening Radio Show. Okay, here we go. Hey folks, I'm Santos Bonacci, and I am tuning in to. Oh, sorry. Can you?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I'll edit it.
Damn. Yeah, I forgot the name. Again?
The Awakening.
The Awakening.
Yeah.
That's simple. The Awakening.
Generic right now,
huh? Okay. Here we go. Hi, folks. I'm Santos Bonacci, and I am now tuned in to The Awakening. Thank you.
Great. All right. And one more. If you can give a brief description. This one will be for my music. A brief description for listening to true music and the power that music has on the generation as far as pushing the truth through it for my music. So I can use that as well.
Yeah, for sure. So
just basically describe the power of the arts and of music, and pushing, using music as a medium, and I guess say let's see, check out Truth Seeker's music at truthseekermusic.com at the end of it.
And just talk about the power of music, yeah, for consciousness.
Yeah, for consciousness and getting the truth out there.
Yeah. Here we go. Music is one of the best mediums for getting the truth out and for expressing truth, and it's a very, very powerful consciousness expander. Please check out the work of Truth Seeker and the music of Truth Seeker, and enjoy and experience the consciousness expansion of this music. And that wasn't very good. Let me do another one.
Sweet. Go ahead.
So just, I'll just say to listen to Truth Seeker on what channel?
TruthSeekerMusic.com. So just give my name. Check out Truth Seeker at TruthSeekerMusic.com whenever you're done.
TruthSeekerMusic.com. Beautiful. All right, here we go. Music is one of the most powerful expressions of truth that we have. It is a very powerful consciousness expander and a great medium for transmitting truth. Check out the work of Truth Seeker at truthseekermusic.com for some great and powerful consciousness expanding music.
Great. Thanks so much, dude. I mean, whenever I talked to you, a couple of weeks ago about coming on the show, I just felt that my spirit, definitely kindred spirits, and the fact that, you can talk to a lot of researchers and a lot of people who are in it, and you can tell what type of aspect they're coming from. A lot of people share the truth, and they're rude about it, and they have a one-up on somebody that they have the truth. But I definitely feel, man, the area you're coming from, you're sharing it because you want the truth to get out there to all the people who want it, man. And thanks so much for your spirit, man, and your obedience, to God, man. It's awesome.
That's very kind.
All right, brother. Well, I'll be in touch with you, man, and we'll try to have you back on here in the next few months or so, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Bless you, man.
Good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. I heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. They live on the moons of Viego, I think.
You're a funny little boy. How do you know so much?
I listen to all the traders and the star pilots who come through. I'm a pilot, and someday I'm gonna fly away from this place.
Hey yo, I look to the sky where my help coming from. Elohim be my guide till his kingdom come. Let Jah be glorified and let his will be done. On earth as in heaven, as above so below. Now there's a place called heaven and I really wanna go. We all some lost souls just trying to make it home. So pray for me while I'm here, remember me when I'm gone. So pray for me while I'm here, remember me when I'm gone. I wanna vision like Enoch, in a love like Christ. See the chariots that fly through the skies at night. I wanna worship like King David in the spirit and unashamed. Be like Stephen the martyr when he called up on your name. I'm not the same, I'm changed, spiritually rearranged. Elevation, transformation while others just stay the same. I'm not the same, I'm changed, spiritually rearranged. Elevation, transformation while others just play the game. Cherubims and seraphim, they travel through stars. You can't decipher this enigma cause the riddle's too hard. Close your eyes and look within and then we'll travel to Mars. Some of us will stay on earth because the spiritual bars. Cherubims and seraphim, they travel through stars. You can't decipher this enigma cause the riddle's too hard. Close your eyes and look within and then we'll travel to Mars. Some of us will stay on earth because the spiritual bars. My father be holding me down, hearing the sound saying look within. Gravity pulling me down to the ground like a falling gin. Rabbi Jehovah Jireh, my provider, this will never end. What happened to the Mayans? There is a fire, it will happen again. We killing the competition, they wishing we come a missing. Rebelling against the system, defeating the opposition. Fulfilling the great commission and praying that people listen. You want it, just come and get it, forgive it, but don't forget it. Now I cut the surface here with every word that I speak. Knowledge is power, giving truth to the meek. I see him herded like cattle and people fleece like sheep. It's time to wake up from this dream, but you're not asleep. You can't decipher this enigma cause my verse is too deep. When I say I'm guarded by the Elo in the heavenly fleet, because our covenants and blood, so commandments we keep. I know the spirit's really willing, but the flesh is so weak. Cherubims and seraphim, they travel through stars. You can't decipher this enigma cause the riddle's too hard. Close your eyes and look within and then we'll travel to Mars. Some of us will stay on earth because the spiritual bars. Cherubim and seraphim, they travel through stars. You can't decipher this enigma cause the riddle's too hard. Close your eyes and look within and then we'll travel to Mars. Some of us will stay on Earth because of spiritual bars.
When I look at society, it's all in pieces. Because the streets are running rampant, we need something to believe in. Cause the ignorance of bred demons into man's mind. And let your own will be the treason. The seasons past, equinox, eternity is weaving. The fabric of life, the roots of trees that bear successful seeds in, and nourish them, the fruits and roots of dirty heathens. The infidels lurking in cold legions, the esoteric teachings, the meetings of black magic readings. The channels need to be conceived in and deceived for the main reason. The Nazarite, the rights of the cities, the beast impedes them. So who's gonna feed them? The sheep are flocking, some will be misleading. The boundaries, information, yo, we not even. So who's Adam and Eve in Eden? Is the serpent deceiving? Is the main being? Is the truth that you're searching, or is it the soul that you're seeking?
Cherubim and seraphim, they travel through stars. You can't decipher this enigma cause the riddle's too hard. Close your eyes and look within and then we'll travel to Mars. Some of us will stay on Earth because of spiritual bars. Cherubim and seraphim, they travel through stars. You can't decipher this enigma cause the riddle's too hard. Close your eyes and look within and then we'll travel to Mars. Some of us will stay on Earth because of spiritual bars.
You're a pilot?
All my life,
How long have you been here?
since I was very little. 3, I think. My mom and I were sold to go build our hut, but she lost us betting on the pod races.
You're a slave?
I'm a person and my name is Anakin.
I'm sorry. I don't fully understand. This is a strange place to me.
And now with the knowing, I'm thinking about my karma, my reaping and sowing. I'm speaking to my father, I'm praying for my homies, reflecting on my memories, reflecting on my journey. Who are my friends and who are the phonies? Who are my